Welcome back to the Westmoreland Sports Network halftime show, and as promised, we have with us today members of the Derry area Trojan 1980s football team and coaches, and it's just a great night, great time for football. Of course, the Trojan 2016 version starting out at 6-0. This 1980s Trojan teams, my goodness, they were fantastic with a 22-8 record in 82, 83, and 84 combined. So it's time for me not to talk so much, and it's time to bring you in with who we have here tonight at Derry Area High School Stadium, and I thank them for coming. And first I'm going to talk to the coach, Carl Allball, the head coach of the Trojans for those years. In fact, Carl was here for 7 years with the Trojans, and in those 3 years, 82 through 84, compiled a 22-8 record, including an 8-2 record in 1982, a 9-1 record in 1983, and 5-5 in 84 to give him that mark. And Coach, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Talk about, first of all, the 2016 Trojans. I know we talked over the phone, and you were so excited about what this team is capable of and what they've done so far.
I am, John. You know, somebody asked me, if they win another game, you're going to tie your records. I said, tie our record. That's what records are made for, to be broken. I hope they go 13-0. And win the WPIL, or there wouldn't be a happier person. Well, maybe there would be a couple happier persons than me, but not many. So I've watched them. I've been to almost every game. A couple of the away games I didn't make. Very good football team. Very different than our team. You know, like I told you before, we have a much smaller school district now than we had back in those days, which gives you less boys to select from. But the team on the field is different. I was very conservative, worried about field position all the time, and if we were anywhere near possibility of not making a first down, you know, I punted the ball. We relied on our defense, where Coach Sweeney, Timmy, he's like a riverboat gambler. He'll throw the ball anywhere on the field. That's the type of football fans come to watch. Mine was more boring than that, but I believed in conservatism and playing defense. But these kids they're really tough kids. A few of them really impressed me, and it's really strange. You know, like I had Troy Balega, Poe Polinsky play for me, and here their kids are playing for them now, and it's just so different. But I think I'm just as happy about this as I was about coaching our team. Great crew of guys.
A lot of memories.
A lot of memories.
You had great coaches.
We had a great coaching staff. We had a great coaching. We worked hard. You know, we played a lot, but when it came time to work, we worked hard. And I was not a screamer, but I was a disciplinarian. And I remember, without mentioning his name, we had a young man didn't show up for summer camp, and I made him run for 2 weeks before he could join us. And I know that probably a lot of the players were cussing me under their breath, and I was rooting for him to make it more than anybody, but it was a set of rules I had. And so I was a disciplinarian in that way, but I wasn't a big screamer. But these kids were great kids, and they all were tremendous football players. I told Troy Balega, though, that his son can do something he never did, and that's throw touchdown passes, and Troy could never do that.
Well, you're talking about all these guys, and I know you have a lot of stories. In fact, we could have videotaped for the first 20 minutes while we were just standing around with all the stories that were flying. But, Coach, why don't you introduce who we have with us here tonight?
Well, I will do. This is my faithful first assistant, Dave McNichol, my first assistant for all 7 years that I was coaching. This is Troy Balega, the second best running back in the Balega family. No, I'm only kidding about that.
Third.
Poe Polinsky, whose son is playing tremendous quarterback for his size. And Tim Sweeney, who I've known since he's been that big. I mean, it just didn't start with football. He's doing a tremendous job as a head coach.
Thanks, Coach.
And I'm proud of them all, believe me.
Coach, in those 30 compiled wins in your tenure, these guys shared a lot of those wins. And, of course,
they did.
You know, you had Coach McNichol as well. You know, it all starts with a great staff and great players, certainly. I want these guys to share some of their memories. This is their opportunity to do that. You know, you talked about it already, some of the great times that you had. I know we talked off mic before.
Yeah.
But before we actually start about maybe season in general, it is the Mount Pleasant Vikings, and I know that rivalry, Coach, was pretty big back in the day, wasn't it?
That was a tremendous rivalry. They had a coach that I really respected, a great football coach and a gentleman, Bill Elder, coached Mount Pleasant, and we always had tight games with them. They were really tight games, And I think they became our big rival. It wasn't Latrobe anymore. It was Mount Pleasant in those days. And I remember when we played them here on the 14-12 game, and I'm not exaggerating, behind the end zone, they had to be 30 deep people standing behind both end zones, and the stadium was packed. I mean, it was amazing time. And I remember, Coach Sweeney made an interception the last play of the game, and we won it 14-12.
You remember that, Coach?
Certainly do.
Take us back to that game.
Well, the coaches had us so well prepared for that, and Mount Pleasant had a very talented offense, had a very talented quarterback. The way that Coach Allball and his staff prepared us for that game, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect Mount Pleasant and say we knew what was coming, but boy, they had us so keyed in that we were really on par as far as their tendencies at Mount Pleasant. And, you know, being in the secondary, it all starts with the guys up front. They put pressure on the quarterback scrambled. Coach had been working with us since the beginning of our high school careers about getting depth, staying in your zone, not letting anybody behind you. And sure enough, if you just do what the coaches coach you to do, it ends up working, out well. And it just so happened that the quarterback threw the ball into my zone, and I was there just to catch it. And but the credit goes to the defensive line and the pressure that they put and everybody else that was out on the field.
Coach McNichol, I know your wheels are turning. We could probably talk for an hour of some of the memories, but particularly those games, but not just those games. I mean, the mantra of the current Trojans, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, is Charlie Mike.
Charlie Mike.
And I know that Mount Pleasant had something with the wall will fall that year. Talk about that.
Well, when they came onto the field that night, we heard them chanting. They were all holding hands, walking onto the field. The wall will fall. The wall will fall, and that referred to the unscored-on streak that we had going for I think it was 5 games, 6 games, 5 games. At any rate, so we were determined to make sure that the wall didn't fall. Well, it did, but we still won the game.
14-12.
We won it 14-12, and one of the first plays at the beginning of the game. Coach Allball worked all summer long, and when we met at the beginning of the season, he says, "Now, don't say anything to the kids, but I have this special play for Mount Pleasant already." He found it on film that summer, and that week we worked on it, and very early in the game we threw the ball in a formation we rarely use, and we threw it to Coach Sweeney, who caught the ball down around the 5-yard line, inside the 5-yard line, that led to our first score. So that was a great moment from that game.
A lot of great moments that year. If you could pass the mic to Troy Balega and Ron Polinsky, of course, Troy, and all of you guys. I mean, I know personally, I was 9, 10 years old at that time, and I would come watch you guys play. I remembered all the numbers. I think we talked about that before. The kids, some of my friends would be playing King of the Hill behind us on the hill, but not me. I mean, I watched all you guys. I knew, all your numbers, and love to watch you run, Troy. What are some of your memories about just your teams you played on and what you were able to accomplish with the guys?
Well, I when I came in as a sophomore, I actually started when Coach Poe was on the offensive line, and I think I told this story to a junior high team before, but we were a tight knit group, and as a sophomore, with the natural fear of getting in a varsity game against the big boys. I remember being at Burrell. That was my first varsity start, and they had a running back. I forget his name.
Tommy Brown.
Tom Brown. And so I was nervous naturally, and at one point during the game, I know it was Coach Poe and maybe Didge or Buff Bojo. I'm not sure, but they ended up breaking this guy's leg, and we were, it was like we had to stop this guy, and they broke his leg, and I remember thinking, like, I want to be with these guys.
Right.
Everything from that point after that, we just gelled as a group, and we all hung out after practice, and it was you played good for each other. Not there was no individual guys. I mean. We all had each other's back, and that was really nice, and to this day we're all great friends, right, and with our coaches, and I think a lot of the things we do as coaches I remember the way that we were coached, and one of the big things was I really remember being prepared for every game we played. We knew what was coming. These guys did a fabulous job preparing us offensively and defensively, and there weren't any surprises on Friday night. We were ready, and I think we do a pretty good job at that with our kids.
Right.
I don't feel right if we don't do that. If something comes up in a game that we haven't seen, I feel really bad that if we missed it by mistake. And that, back then we don't have the video like you have today. These guys were watching it on the
Right, reel to reel.
Yeah.
Now we have huddle.
During Saturday mornings.
A lot of Scotch tape.
Coach, it made it a lot more difficult.
A lot of Scotch tape we used.
For game planning, right?
Yeah,
oh my goodness gracious! Now it's easy, right, Coach Sweeney? Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody.
Okay.
Coach Poe, you guys and Coach Balega brought up a good point. Troy, talking about how long you guys have been together. I mean, you've been through the midget program. You were a head coach here. And you went through it. You worked hard with the kids, and now here you are, and here's this team in a great situation. And I know I want to get back to your teams, but it kind of makes sense that you guys are here tonight, and we're talking about those teams, and your team's in that situation right now that you coach.
Yeah, this team is very similar to where we were back then. Troy mentioned about how close-knit we were, and you could see it in these guys. From the freshmen to the seniors, they all get along, they hang out, they all enjoy each other, and they, the big thing is right now they're playing for each other, and I think that's the big key for us right now.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That's what impresses me when I go watch their games. I can tell they're well prepared. You can sit up in the stands. You have to know a little bit about football, but I could tell they're well prepared when they go on the field, both offensively and defensively. And you can tell the kids are into each other. And they come off the field, they're slapping each other in the back. It's not so. That's noticeable up in the stands, especially if you've been a coach.
The community is so involved again. I can remember when you guys were winning in the 80s. You used to come down to Grandview Elementary School. And the kids, including myself, were so excited about that. You'd come down, the cheerleaders would come down, even some of the band members would come down. You'd put on this big display, and it was like a big thing, back then. And that's kind of brought back right now. Talk about how fun that was, to be able to do that for the community and play on these Friday nights when you have the popcorn and the lights, right?
Right.
Anybody can chime in, so you're good.
Coach Sweeney.
I agree. The energy that was around Derry football back then was really special, and we were fortunate as players to be able to have a high school career like that where you would experience that. And you want that as a player, and you certainly want that as a coach. You want your players to experience the best possible, or have the best possible experience that they can. What's started this year with the support from not only the community but within the school, the relationship with the football team and the band members and the cheerleaders. You saw it after our homecoming game here is a really special thing, and it's just a credit and a testament to the type of character that the 2016 team has, and it starts with senior leadership. And if we're going to make comparisons between the teams, you can go back to 1982 when Coach Poe was a senior. There was a lot of outstanding senior leadership, and Coach Balega spoke of that. And then the following year, the same thing when we won the conference. There was outstanding senior leadership. And we have that again this year in 2016, is we have a group of seniors who have dedicated themselves, not just at the beginning of the season, they dedicated themselves at the end of last season. And that's essentially where it started. And so you see that, and you hate to make comparisons. Whereas, I think we're better off talking what are the similarities between the teams, because, I see that as a similarity. And one of the things, and you and I speak about it, Coach Flick, almost on a weekly basis, is when you talk about Derry football, the one consistent thing that you see, regardless of who the head coach is you see kids who are tough, who want to fly around to the football and hit somebody. And it doesn't matter if it was Coach Allball, if it was Coach Poe, if it was me, or if it was any other coach. And that's what we have in Derry that I think is our calling card, so to speak.
Coach Allball, talk about some of your teams and Coach McNichol as well, and some of your greatest moments. I know you have a lot of them. Some of the players and things like that really stuck out to you. Certain games, things like that.
Well, the Borough game sticks out more than any game, even more than Mount Pleasant, because the Borough game, I think the season before we won one game or no games. I'm not sure of that. We didn't either win any or we won one.
Yeah, no games the year before.
And I spent a year and a half devising a defense that you couldn't read in any book. Pieces of it naturally, but couldn't read in any book. And we went into Borough, who had that running back, and we shot him out. And that defense started perking, and it made the big difference in the next 2 years. Not that we didn't have great offensive people, because you can't win without them, but that defense made a big difference.
Turning point, right?
Yeah.
Turning point.
I think, don't hold me to this, but I think in the 2 seasons we had 9 shutouts, I believe, and
Wow.
that's unbelievable. Amazing. Even in the 30s, when they didn't throw the ball as much as they do today, but still, that was kind of unbelievable. So Tim hit it right on the button, and I've said it for years, that Derry doesn't always get the most talented kid. Now this year they do have some talent, but they always get a tough kid that's going to go out and hit people and give you 100%. Derry's always had that. Even on Derry's losing teams, they've had that type of kid. And that makes you proud to be associated with Derry area football. It's as simple as that. And something that a lot of people don't know is Tim's dad and I were halfbacks together on a Derry team.
There you go.
So we go way back. It was a Derry Borough team at that time, but we go way back. I go way back with Tim's family. And to see him come on and have the success he and his staff has had, I truly think I'm happier than I was when we had our own, at least as happy. So it's been great. And we've had our down years at Derry, and we're going to have some of them. At one time, the WPIL, I didn't think used discretion too much when they had us. My first team played Penn Hills, Hempfield when they were a powerhouse, Kiski area, Connellsville with the McCargo brothers, and that's Hempfield's Abraham teams, and
Right.
Kiski area's Diltz's teams.
Bill Abraham, the late
And Bill Abraham,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't think that was really fair to our kids at that time. Well, now they're a little bit more sensible with that. The only thing you lose is these guys have to travel a little further than we did because, we had pretty much Westmoreland County schools. But you shouldn't be playing schools like that. But right now, I think it's great. And I think the league's great. And I expect tomorrow night to go in the locker room and congratulate these guys. I fully expect to do that. I know it's going to happen.
Go from Keystone Conference to Interstate Conference. Doesn't matter what conference.
I don't care what the name of the
championship,
conference
and
is,
that's what we're shooting for.
Right.
Coach McNichol, he'll give you the mic.
Well, as we were doing a little reminiscing, I was thinking of the 83 team in our last game of the season with Johnstown. And one of the things that the coach all mentioned that they were very good friends on that team, and they're very good friends on the team that's representing us this year. And I also remember at the end of the Johnstown game, we had scored, and I sent the play in for Tim Sweeney, who was the quarterback then, and he's such a good friend that he changed that call and gave the ball to his best friend, Jimmy Palumbo, just so Jimmy could throw a touchdown pass in his final senior year moment. So I don't criticize him for it because it worked, and that's what I told him when he come off the field.
I would never change a play. I blamed it on the guy who ran the play in, and he forgot the play, so I had to think of something on the fly.
Yeah, I don't think Coach Sweeney would ever change the plan.
No.
I don't.
Troy Pope, you played and you were good. Your teams were good. Now you have kids on the team. Of course, Troy, your oldest, is now at Seton Hill University playing for the Griffins. And you have Tyler and Poe, you have Ryan. What's that like for you guys? Either both, on the practice field, on the field. I know you guys come out here early at night, or on Friday nights, I should say, and you look around, and sometimes I wonder what's going on in your mind, kind of reminiscing and wanting to put pads on again, but now your kids are, and Coach Deuce is still a little too young for that right now, but he'll get
His
there.
day's coming.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what it's like.
I kind of feel bad for my kids because I'm really hard on them because I just expect more, and a lot of people, they think you're showing favoritism, and and that's tough to swallow. I don't like when people talk like that, because I think we utilize a lot of people the best we can, and that's what we should do as coaches. So I yell at my own kid a lot. He knows when something's wrong, he's going to get yelled at, and I think Coach Poe's probably the same way, or Coach Poe tells me to holler at Ryan about something if I don't see it. So it works out for us. But I'm really on Friday night, I think at the beginning, like I coached my kids in the midgets, and yeah, you tend to watch them a little more, but I think now, coaching so long, I give myself credit for I'm not watching my kid. I'm watching what I'm supposed to be watching for to call the next play, and that's one thing I got better at over the years, just I think with experience. Friday nights, I really don't watch my kid. I'm proud of him. I see that I don't know any stats until
You're too busy, right?
Yeah, I don't hear stats until the next day, and fortunately we have really nice film now, so I watch them on Saturday mornings. I can slow down and take a peek at it, but I'm really proud of my boys and Pose and all the kids. They're feeding into the system. They're excited. I think they're real confident in what they're doing and what we're doing, and it's really pleasant. It's really pleasant coaching when they believe in what they're doing, and you can see it happening. It's a beautiful thing. So
Poe?
Oh, it's hard. I'm proud of Ryan, but it is hard coaching. I think we kind of have a tendency to get on them guys a little bit more than maybe sometimes deserved. It's a little bit easier for me because I don't coach him. Coach Sweeney does, so I'm kind of more. I'm away from it more. But we do have a chance to talk. I get to watch him on Saturday films because 9 chances out of 10, if something's happening on the offensive line, Coach Sweeney's yelling at me what happened, so I can't take a peek to see how he is doing. But like Troy said, I am proud of him. Those guys have it tough because they know. They've heard us talk before about the teams that we were on, and there is a lot to live up to, I think, sometimes for them guys. They feel like, maybe they got to perform a little bit more. But like I said, when Ryan was in 8th grade, he broke his leg. And at that point in time, I didn't even know if he was going to continue to play football. And, here he is as a junior starting quarterback. So I'm very proud of him.
Dan, if you could pan in, or Coach Lisinski's on the camera tonight. If he could pan in on Coach Allball, the 1983 Keystone Conference champion picture, and we can get a close-up of that. All the players, we'd like to have them all. We'd like to talk for a long time, Coach, but you're out of time. We got a second half to play here.
Well, John, we get together every 10 years and have a reunion at Plumbos, and we've been doing that. We've had 3 we did it in we've had 3 reunions now down in Plumbos. We get together every 10 years, and a lot of the guys show up. Some can't make it, but a lot show up. And somebody said over here, I think it was Troy, that they're still really close, and they are. That group's really close. And, one other similarity between the two teams I wanted to mention, I noticed sitting up in the stands, is the running backs. Like, Troy was our best running back, but we had 3 or 4 guys that could run with football. His boys are their best running back, but they got 3 or 4 guys that can run with the football. Sure. And that's one thing I noticed about the two teams. We each had some good running backs, and a bevy of them.
Coach, I wish we could talk longer.
I know.
You got a great crew here, and I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to do this again another time, and
it's a privilege anytime I get together with those guys. So
absolutely.
No problem.
Guys, thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks,
Coach, appreciate it. That's the guys: Coach Allball, Coach McNichol, Coach Balega, Coach Polinsky, and Coach Sweeney. And when we come back, we're going to have a second half kickoff for you from Derry Area High School, the Trojans and the Mount Pleasant Vikings. It's the 2016 version, and it's coming up after these messages right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network.